Hi everyone, thank you for joining us again. This is Holly at 34 Vampires. As you can see, the marina at Plank Lane Lift Bridge is really festive. I'm a little bit late getting this video out, but obviously this was back at Christmas. Really lovely stay there, good place to be, and there's a water point and everything there. So one of the things that we've been having problems is with our canopy. And I have to say at this point, I in no way blame the canopy maker or the company that built our boat at all. It's not either of their faults. It's actually down to a faulty batch of fabric that didn't have enough chemical in it. So the anti-mold, you know, like the antifungal, the UV, and the what's the other one, let me think, and the the waterproofer, of course, that they just weren't there as they should have been. So the canopy's actually under 6 months old. As you can see, it's leaking in the rain, and you can see all the mold that's in there as well. And with regards to the mold, you can see how much there is because it had been quite wet weather. And in fact, I'd only literally completely scrubbed the inside of the canopy only 5 days before, but because it had been wet, it came back with complete vengeance, and we weren't able to open the flaps at the side because, of course, then the floor was getting soaked and everything, so that water could have got into the engine bay. So yeah, been really problematic, but since then we've luckily had some much better weather, and we've been able to keep one of the side flaps half open, which has been able to air it. So from that point of view, we've not been having so much of the mould issues at all. And we are getting a new canopy done, a black one this time, with the black seating to replace it, which obviously the company are replacing for us. And you know, I feel pretty bad for them in a way, because it wasn't their fault, you know, it's down to the faulty fabric. But yeah, these things do happen, all part of boat life. So the Wigan Flashes were absolutely beautiful to stay at. The only thing that we did find is the sides were quite silted, so we had to moor quite wide, and so we actually arrived there in the evening just as it was starting to get dark. And I must actually go, while I'm editing, I'm just thinking I've got another bit of video that I need to insert in here that is absolutely beautiful. It was filmed in the evening just as we were pulling up, and what it actually shows is, well, you'll see at the end of the clip, what it actually does is, I didn't realise what was there at the end of the clip was there until I turned it around, and it was the camera around, and it was just absolutely lovely. It was just like one of those perfect things that when you get to the mooring spot, you turn round and you see what I saw, you just think, this is why we enjoy boat life, this is why we do what we do. If you've watched any of our earlier videos, then you might be aware that before June of last year, we'd actually never even touched a tiller. We were completely and utterly new to narrowboats when we commissioned it. We'd never even stayed on one, so we had a really rude awakening. You can see in the photos here the tunnels that go under the Liver building in Liverpool. So after Bly doing his first 10 minutes on the tiller ever, these were the tunnels that he had to go through the next time that the engine went on. So I was just showing you that to show you the next bit that we came up against. So as we were coming up to the lee branch, one of the gate gears was broken for the lock, and so because of that we were only able to sort of get one of those lock gates open. So after only going from Liverpool and to Wigan, and that's all we'd ever done, was yeah, this is what we encountered then. And I'm really happy to say that Bly actually got this through, got our boat through without a single scrape whatsoever. You know, really cool that he was able to do that, because the only other thing, really bad thing that he'd encountered, well, bad to us from the point of view, it's scary, you know, sort of like only 10 minutes after cruising, for the first time ever, you're going under the Liver building tunnels and through the tunnels. So yeah, so just wanted to show you this as well on the way, because apparently this one had been broken for quite a long time, and this is one of the problems with CRT, not necessarily with CRT, but obviously from the financial point of view. That when things are broken, nothing is fixed very quickly, unfortunately, and especially with, you know, with the big breaches and things like that, which is at the time now that I'm editing this, this was a little while ago, but at the time we are currently, which is about a month on, we've just found out that we're held up again from the route that we wanted to go on, because another breach. So yes, so again, such is boat life, these things happen, and so the plans never seem to go right. So at the moment where we currently are, we've actually gone back on ourselves, and we're going to go back and revisit some of the places like Scotsman's Flash and Pearson's Flash, so that, you know, we know where everything is, but also kind of decide where we're going to go from here. So one of the things that we do tend to see is a lot of graffiti on the bridges. Whenever you tend to see the concrete, not every time obviously, but very often when you see the concrete under the bridges, there'll be graffiti there. But you know, some of it has been done, you know, quite artistically, but as you can see, that, you know, this is a little bit of a mess. So this day that we were cruising was absolutely freezing. You don't see me skipping very often, but on this day I helped lie out a bit, and I have to say both of us on this day, our hands were absolutely numb, our feet were numb. It was such a beautiful day, such a beautiful cruise, but it was so cold, so cold. We cruised past this old building, this derelict building, and I'm not sure if it got burnt out, but it looks to be that there's an old sign on it, so we guess that it must have been some kind of old pub at some point. And this is one of the things about the cruising, is you never know what you're going to see. You know, you can see, well, graffiti again, but you know, everything from the wildlife to the flashes to the bridges, and sometimes you just never know what's around the corner, and it kind of keeps it exciting, it keeps it challenging, and that's what cruising should be all about. It's about the lifestyle, you know. It's not a particularly cheap lifestyle if you look after your boat, you know, you do everything properly, and the fuel as well, the fuel cost in winter if you're using coal as well. So, you know, it's not necessarily cheap. I suppose it will be sort of in some places like London, maybe compared with houses and things, but you know, for us, you know, I'm not finding it over the winter any cheaper than it was to heat our bungalow, you know, although we're using wood at times as well, but that's not always available. But yeah, so it's about the lifestyle. You've got to be into the lifestyle, and if anything, I think it's the lifestyle and the peacefulness of everything that's drawn us even more than the cruising. We enjoy the cruising, you know, the beautiful sights, but we find that it's the peacefulness. It's just sort of belie an eye. You know, obviously when we go out, we find everything so noisy, so busy. It's like everything's going at 90 miles an hour. So we always feel after we've been out that we want to come back to the boat. You know, it's almost like that deep breath out when we come back. For us as well, I think we found it very much about the changing seasons, because you're seeing the nature out there. You know, one minute you've got all the greenery, you know, and the sunshine, then you've got the leaves falling off of the trees as the autumn comes in, you know, so obviously the rain starts, the weather's changing, but then you get those beautiful blue skies. With that comes the cold. And you know, when you're sort of like living in a house, I certainly found that I didn't notice it so much, the seasons, you know, because you could always kind of disappear into your house, whereas because boat life is a bit of a more outside lifestyle, as it were, I tend to find that, you know, the seasons is something that we're noticing far, far more. It certainly brings a lot more work, you know, if you're having to get wood in and everything like that, keeping the fire going, sweeping the chimney, you know, so it brings with it as well, winter, those extra jobs. And one of the things that we thought was, you know, is that we were going sort of into our first winter and we thought this is going to be really long, you know, because in recent years it's been so wet. You know, it's not been sort of like that dry, frosty weather much. So obviously our expectation was going to be that the winter was going to feel quite long after, you know, the pleasant outside of the summer and sort of going into the autumn. But what we've actually found is that the winter is just going so quickly. You know, a lot of people say on your first boat year or whatever, go through a winter and then you'll know if it's for you. And we feel like we've actually sailed through it. You know, I think at the time of editing, we're at the end of January now. And yes, we've got February, then coming into March the weather's going to start improving, and the winter's gone, and it's not really bothered us too much at all. So as you'll see, we'd just come through the Plank Lane lift bridge and we'd moored not far before it, and we'd been there for 2 weeks. Unfortunately, we saw a dead swan there. Now, I reported it to DEFRA twice and nothing was done about it. It was still there, and it had actually floated down into the marina, the other side of the bridge, over that time. And as you might be aware, there's avian flu on the Leeds and Liverpool, but what we actually found out from a CRT lady that was at Plank Lane Bridge, there's actually been somebody also targeting swans. They've sadly been killing swans in all different kinds of ways. So some of the dead swans that have been seen are in actual fact not from avian flu. Some of them have actually been targeted by some horrible scumbag. Thank you to those of you that have watched through to the end. If you enjoy our videos, please think of subscribing, and I promise I'm going to get my bumming gear. I've been quite busy with my animal client work, and so yeah, that's why I've been a bit behind on the editing, but I'm going to get my bumming gear and I'm going to get some more videos out there for you, because I'm very conscious of the fact that there's been quite a delay between this one and the last one. So in the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and we will see you soon.